2026 is the year that we stop ignoring our soul contract. And if you've never heard of a soul contract before, let me present it to you this way. I haven't experienced enough life to know if I believe in reincarnation, but I have experienced enough to know that there are some things that are unavoidable when it comes to the lessons that are required for our souls. And so when you're ignoring your soul contract, it looks a lot like resistance to the truths that are a foundational part of your reality. Maybe you're an achiever, a goal setter, somebody who has done everything that they were supposed to be doing, thought they should be doing, has gone after every one of their dreams, and yet you don't find that you're happy. Maybe you felt called to something and you've been on the path, and the version of it that you're trying to do isn't working. But the dream hasn't changed. It's just the way that you're trying to get there is not suitable for what your soul needs. Now, if you're new here, my name is Savannah, aka the Savvy behind what Savvy said, and this is a space of learning how to gently parent ourselves and to take care of the souls that we were given in this lifetime. This isn't about a checklist or every single thing that you need to be doing next, but really how to step into that place of intuition and leaning into being an intuitive being so that you can live more in alignment with your soul contract and things can flow more easily. So today I want to walk you through the perspective of some things that you might want to consider when you are planning and goal setting for the new year, when you're looking at how you want to experience things differently, or maybe you're just in a position where you recognize you haven't been living in alignment. And alignment meaning there are things that are just on your path that you have to deal with, overcome, learn from, experience, and you've been resisting them with everything in your being. We're going to help you figure out how to get on the other side of this while also making sure that you can do things and receive things more easily. So first things first, let's talk about how you're feeling coming out of 2025. Or whatever season you're in where you found this episode and you think, all right, I'm ready to start over. Because of course you could sit here and say, yes, I'm going to set what I want to do next. I'm ready to dive into the next bunch and bundle of things. But if things have been really noisy, if it's been really chaotic, if everything's been really messy, before you want to set that path forward, you have to come back to being a very present human being. You need to come back to being somebody that you make room for. Now, everybody has their own version of doing this. You guys know if you've listened to other episodes, the 75 Love is Mine. But the foundation of your soul contract is learning unconditional love for yourself and how you allow yourself to be who you are completely as a human being. When you think about living according to your soul contract, the thing that you need to know is that when you've been doing it differently or not necessarily with as much room for the things that you needed to be focused on, it's going to take some time for you to get back to that place mentally, physically, spiritually. Practically speaking, we have to release habits. We have to allow ourselves to stop craving certain emotional experiences that we've been having consistently. But we also have to give ourselves permission to step into a new version of reality. And so the reason that 75 Love exists is because it's meant to help you peel back the layers and to create the foundation while also giving you the structure that you need so that you feel like you have the time to dedicate to this. It's about recentering yourself as someone who's important, but also about learning to love yourself unconditionally and what it looks like for you to build the foundation of this. It's about giving yourself the space to deal with things that you might have been procrastinating, feelings that you've been avoiding, and to help you understand where maybe you've been surviving simply because you didn't have the power or the space or the time to step back and understand what you needed to create for yourself on your own. That is not the full scope of today's episode, but I will leave the information in the show notes for this because it is the foundation of what I'm going to be talking about, but it also really integrates the things that I find help me understand the things in my soul contract, help me come back to the center of what it is to be me. Now let's talk about some of the things that might be in your soul contract that aren't a limiting belief, but are the things that are required for you to learn in this lifetime so that you can prepare the next version of your soul, or however we carry on after we exist in this time and in this body. Because I had this breakdown earlier this year thinking, this is not what I want. None of this reflects the reality that I would be choosing, which of course leads to that deeper external cry of, what is it I'm missing? What am I not getting? What am I meant to be learning? Because maybe you're like me and you've been in that place where you think, why am I still so stuck on this one vision? Now, I don't know if you've ever gone down the rabbit hole of ancestry and looking at who you're related to and where that tracks historically. But I did so earlier this year, and there's a free resource I'll link in the show notes for it. And what I discovered throughout the process of doing this was that there were a lot of very specific intertwinings for me to be where I am at this time in this branch of my family. And there were parallels in other branches of the family and like cousins on other lines, and looking at just how many strings had to be pulled for everybody to be the exact place that they were in this lifetime to be with this specific set of human beings. And if you're that person who thinks, I don't get why I was placed in this family, I don't get why these were the caretakers that I was given to when I was entering this reality, when you just think, I don't represent or reflect the people who are around me, it probably has something to do with your soul contract. So instead of setting goals this year, your job is to ask yourself and to give your soul space to tell you what it's craving. Because we can't live out what's required for us to nourish our soul unless we actually let ourselves be individual human beings. So I like to do this in a few ways, and it's the way that I'm kind of giving myself an idea of what my bigger vision is for 2026. And if we're really new to this, I will give you some light instructions and then you can expand as you feel more intuitive. So whenever I'm trying to get a better perspective on how I'm feeling in my life, I will take the bucket method. You do 9 buckets and you divide your life into categories. So these change for me constantly depending on how I feel like they're merging together. There might be a friendship one, there might be a family one, there might be a creative bucket, there might be wellness, but that might be healthy eating, that might be working out, there might be some of these times where it feels really vague. I walk you through this in the How to Do 75 Love If You're Busy guide, so I will leave that in the show notes as well. If I were to give you my buckets right now, it would be storytelling is own bucket for me, which is how I'm developing storytelling, how I am engaging in it creatively, but also how I'm becoming a better storyteller. Love and relationships, where am I cultivating that with others? Where am I preparing myself to step into partnership? How am I deepening my relationship with me? Family. Instead of friendships, my bucket right now is expansive human beings. Am I spending time with people who expand my mind and my belief in possibilities and just fill my cup completely because they have such incredible energy? Health and wellness looks different for me right now because it's really stress management. And where am I allowing myself to be a present human being? We have travel, culinary arts, and being a bit more of a foodie. And then dreams. Where am I making space for my dreams? Seems like an odd bucket, but I found recently that I've put a lot of priority on worrying about everybody else and not letting myself create the details that I need, which is why I'm doing the next version of this that's probably more in alignment with how I'm operating. But if the buckets help you to start to open your mind to possibilities or know where to kind of poke around and ask questions, it's a great first step. The next part I've done a couple of ways. Do it in whichever way suits you. I'm going to do the second version as my 2026, but what I previously have done is I get on Pinterest and I just start scrolling and I look at photos. I might start searching words. I let myself just look at things and I don't worry about curating it. I go through and I save photos to my phone. I don't save them in the app. I save them to have them easily able to print off on Snapfish after I'm done. I might be searching for things that I know that I want. I might be just kind of looking, and throughout the process of it, I don't allow myself to choose anything unless it fully speaks to me. That is my goal. It doesn't need to curate a version of something I think that I need or a dream version of something, because that's not my goal in this. My goal for this is to let my soul speak, to let the feelings that I haven't actually given space to come out. And so I'm looking to see what photos draw me, what captivates me. I find that when I do this, I discover things lost along the way, curiosity, stuff that was a really joy-fulfilling thing for me, but maybe in the busyness of life or the ways in which we currently operate, it just no longer naturally happens for me. By giving myself this, I recognize that it's something that my soul craves. Now, the version that I'm going to be doing this year is a little bit different because I'm going to do it with my journal every single month. Sitting down and letting myself scroll, go into stores, look at stickers, photos in this window in which I'm intentionally saying, all right, I'm opening myself up to hearing what my soul craves, and letting that be the guide for opening me up to opportunities I would have never thought to ask for, and things that I didn't realize I needed, but were going to fulfill me in ways that will take me to the next level and compress the amount of time. So here's what I'll say to finish this episode, because I have been working for hours on a 12-minute audio. I've spent the last 5 years working on manifesting, working in air quotes, working underlined 3 times, working diligently. I've been that girl who has invited every bit of information I could into my realm in order to create this version of things, because somebody opened the door for me and told me that there was a new way to do this, that I could do this differently. And what I realized throughout the process of that was that I was taking in information that I needed, but the actual information I needed was probably 2% of everything. And the extra 98% was actually overloading my ability to hear what my soul needs. Building the foundation for unconditional love, learning how to disassemble a limiting belief, and then really and truly being able to embrace my soul curiosity, knowing that things that I want were always coming from that soul level place. And if I embraced that, everything flowed so much more easily. I stopped trying. I took my power back. I understood that I was creating a very toxic environment for myself in which I was continually living. I was more anxious than I'd ever been when I was trying to do this. I was depressed. I was angry. I was overwhelmed and frustrated. And it was all in pursuit of this thing that I knew that I could have organically, or I realized I could have organically once I had enough evidence to recognize that the path and version I was trying wasn't working. When I recognized that I had a soul contract, that I had soul needs, and that my desires were soul-based, if I gave myself the space to let all of those things speak to me, things flowed in so much more easily. So I can't wait for 2026. I think it's going to be such a beautiful year. I think I will probably make myself uncomfortable with some of the choices that I'm making because they don't feel like they have certainty. And that is definitely something I find myself gently navigating when it comes to my soul contract, when it comes to really not looking outside of myself for certainty. I leave a lot of space for the universe to help me get over the hump for things, and I can tell you a full long story about times in which that has helped me, in which I've had to really ask for that. But if you allow yourself to be a present human being, if you allow yourself to be available for universe to speak in so many ways, if you give yourself that space to hear what your soul needs, I promise you it'll change your life. The things you've been chasing, everything you've been seeking, all of the stuff that you've been working so hard for, it can be so much easier than you ever imagined it could be. So for now, I will leave you with this mini episode. There will be a vlog on my channel later this week going through setting my 2026 goals and all of the things that I'm doing. If you want to join me for that, there may be a second podcast episode up this week if it doesn't take me as long to edit it because I keep nitpicking through things. But there will definitely be more content coming in January. So if you like this episode, make sure you're following along on whatever platforms you're listening to. Check the show notes for any details you might need. Feel free to send me a DM if you have any questions. And otherwise, I will talk to you in a new episode very soon. And I'm wishing you all a very wonderful ending to 2025. And I'm wishing you all a happy New Year's Eve and a beautiful beginning to a new chapter. I love you all, and I hope you're having a wonderful week. I will talk to you soon. Bye, guys.